invite folks to gather. We're also recording this for the future access, so welcome to the folks who are viewing this at a later moment. We're glad you're looking at it. You know, many of you were here as part of the presentations that Carla and I did prior to this point, and this has been, the renovision has been a project that has been several years in the making, with the last year, especially this last 6 or 7 months, have been pretty intense in terms of getting towards design. Our hope had been to have a contractor or to be able to give you a sense of the numbers as well on this. We've had a contractor come and he's working on an estimate of what these things would cost. Unfortunately, we don't have that quite set up yet. So just know that that is in the works. Today, our focus is on the design, and we'll have another gathering in the future to talk about cost and working on this. We've got a committee that has been formed there's been the renovision committee that's been formed to kind of oversee this process, to oversee the design part of this process. And now we've got a renovision, Mike, what's the name of that new committee? The renovision project team. Which will be overseeing the full implementation of it. So, and Mike Burpee has been a co-facilitator of that, as well as Suzanne Stockdale, and Vivian Donnan is on that team, and Rick Barr, and myself, and Carla will still be representative as the renovision team. So anyway, this is a process. What we're doing today is we're going to present the vision that we've been working with Kathleen on, and we're still taking some feedback, but so this isn't there'll be space after this presentation to answer your questions, hear what you affirm in it, and then hear what your concerns are. So that will be part of today as well. But first of all, we want to give most of the space to Kathleen. So without further ado, this is Kathleen. I'll let you introduce it, whatever you want to say, but you're welcome to take it from here.
All right. Oh, we've got some mic tango going on there. Hi, everybody. I'm Kathleen. I'm the design director of Abitibi Interior Design in Vancouver. And you guys have so graciously asked me and my team to help you design the renovation of the sanctuary space in the Narthexes. And we've been working very hand in hand with the Renovision Committee. They've been giving us lots of frank and very helpful feedback along the way. So what you're about to see is very much a collaborative effort between our team and the Renovision Committee. We've been working really hard with them to make sure that we show everything, that we are ensuring that the design maintains the beautiful sense of community at St. Lawrence, that we respect, the pillars of faith. It's been a very educational experience for me and my team, which we've really appreciated, and it's been a lovely journey so far. So I just wanted to show you, and I'm sure that you've been speaking about this with Eric and Carla and Pat, about the different layouts that are going to be possible with the use of chairs instead of pews. So we can show you how that will work out in the different floor plans that we have, and then I'll walk you through the 3D model so you can see the space in real time and as you're sitting in it, which is kind of a unique thing. A lot of people don't get that opportunity when they're reviewing a design to actually be in the space that they're seeing in front of them, so that's really exciting. So just to show you, we've been talking a lot about how will it work when we bring chairs into the space. So I don't know if you can see here, this is one configuration that the Renovision Committee and our team have been talking about, which is how do we set up for an in the round situation. So you can see with all of the chairs, we're able to create a really different dynamic in the space and support a lot of different ways that you guys will worship for other events and community events in the space. So there's the possibility to do an in the round here. This is the thrust. So these are theater terms in case you're not familiar with that. So thrust just means that all of the elements come forward into the space and you surround them on 3 sides. In the round is obviously in the round, and the main focal point is in the middle. Sorry, I thought Carla was whispering something to me. No? Okay. She tends to whisper in my ear. So, and then, and then proscenium, which is just like your standard setup where everyone is facing towards the dais. Yes?
Could you orient us in terms of where the altar or which space is where at this point?
Absolutely. So just like where the altar is within each of the configurations? Oh, yes, of course. So you are sitting, sir, right over here, if you can see that. So this is the large narthex here where you come in. And this is the back hallway. So where everybody's sitting back there. Hello, everyone. And then the small narthex is over here, and this is the dais. Right here?
Up there.
Up here, yes. So in the round option, we have the altar is in the middle, centralized here. And then the lectern or the ambo is located here. So it's visible from everyone on every side. And then in this situation, the choir is set up on the dais, but it can be set up wherever makes sense for the service that you're doing. And then
we could keep the choir right where they're at now in this configuration.
We certainly could. The choir, luckily, is very mobile, and there's lots of power options throughout the space. So the choir can wander wherever they feel like, and you can set up around them and enjoy their beautiful voices and instruments. So just because the choir is shown in one particular area in each configuration doesn't mean that they can't float as their music takes them. So, and then here in the thrust configuration, we have the altar here, just right in front of the dais. And then the ambo is over here, the lectern, which is normally where it will be sitting. And then in the proscenium, obviously, the altar will be sitting on the dais. The ambo will be here. And the font, obviously, since it weighs about 1,000 pounds, it's going to always stay over here in this corner. So we're relocating the font to this side of the space next to the ombre. All right, so just to tell you guys a little bit about the materiality that we've discussed in the space. So the main sanctuary space will be carpeted, and that is because acoustics. So if everything was hard in here, it would sound like my microphone echoing about 1,000 times over. So we want to make sure we have some soft materials in the space to help with the acoustics as well. But that will be mixed with, and that's the carpet right here, but that will be mixed with what we call a luxury vinyl tile. Now, I don't know why it's called a luxury vinyl tile. Not sure why it's more luxurious than other vinyl tiles, but that's just the name of it. It has kind of a stone look. So we're trying to create an organic, almost West Coast feeling in the space. So bringing the outside in. And then obviously your beautiful stained glass cross and the beautiful clear story stained glass windows that you have here are just such gorgeous works of art that we want to make sure we're bringing those into the space. And then, oh, sorry, that was me hitting my mic. Apologies. And then we have just some light stone counter surfaces, and there'll be kind of a monolithic gray sort of shimmering surface on the dais. So everything works together, but the main color in the space will be white. And the reason for that is because you have such beautiful natural light coming into these windows that it makes sense to highlight that, to bring the texture and the nature of this beautiful rising architectural space. It highlights it better when it's white, and you'll see texture and you'll see contrast, and then there'll be a lot of elements of wood, which is going to bring warmth into the space and give you that West Coast kind of feeling. Then there's going to be some organic elements, some planting, and this is going to be one of the more unique parts of the design, which we're hoping you'll really like. We've been working with a plant expert on interior planting, and she's given us advice on how to achieve these plantings, and one of them involves a tree. So you're gonna see that in the 3D model. All right, well, I'm not gonna show you renders. I'm gonna take you actually into the model now, so you can see what's going on, what's happening inside your space. So where we're standing right now in this model is we're standing right outside the entry to the large narthex. So this is where you're coming in. as you enter. So as we walk in, we're met with this kind of beautiful wood, warm space. So this isn't wood paneling, it's a wood material that is applied directly to the wall, but it's real wood, so it behaves like real wood. It's natural, it has a natural grain, and that will coordinate with all the wooden doors and all of the existing wooden elements in the space. And then there's going to be a message of greeting here. Now, I've been working with Eric on it. I don't think I've got it quite right yet, and the message may change, but this is just an example. So right here on a panel, we have an introductory quotation or passage that embodies community and togetherness is the idea here. And then on this wall, as you come in, we have a natural preserved moss element. Now, this may not be what it looks like in the end, but the idea is to create a natural, almost forest-like feeling that undulates. So this moss is actually preserved. It's not alive, so no worries. No need to worry about bugs or anything like that. And it's mounted on a backing, and you can make it into any shape you want. It comes with a whole bunch of different colors, and it's basically maintenance-free. It's kind of like having a tapestry, like the tapestry in the back of the room right now. May require a little dusting once in a blue moon, but other than that, absolutely no care and maintenance, which Ron has told me is very important. So, and then on the floor here, as you come in, there's going to be a walk-off mat so that your boots and wet shoes will be drying off before you come in. And then on the floor is that luxury vinyl tile that we talked about. So it's giving you a feeling of stone, a feeling of naturalness as you come in. And then what we've done is we've kind of framed out this niche here just to create a really poignant sight line into the sanctuary. So, you know, this is the main part of your space. It's the most beautiful part of your space. So being able to frame it properly as you enter from either side is really important because that's where we want your eyes to go. But we'll have some seating here as well. And then the table, it may not look like this. We know it's very modern right now, but it could look like something different if you'd like. But the idea of the greeting table would be right here in this space. And then as you come over here, we've just added some storage underneath the office window and a counter so that when you're giving Kurt all of the gifts, you can just pass them to the window, but you could put them out on the counter first, which is always nice. And also a place for people to place things when they're greeting people as they come in for service. So. And then over here we'll have probably a notice board, and we want to still preserve a few of the pews. We don't want to, they're such beautiful pieces, so we want to put them in a few different places where, you know, the history of St. Lawrence is still honored, and those artifacts are still honored, even though they may not be in the main sanctuary space anymore. And they could be still, we're exploring those different things, but. And then that tile kind of comes all the way down through to the back hallway, just to create a nice feeling of openness. And then that wood on the beam that you see here will continue into the sanctuary space. Now, I feel like I might just scoot around the sanctuary space and show you the small artifacts before we go into la pièce de résistance. So hold on. Whee! This is where your coffee is. All right. Okay, so coming in on the other side, one of the biggest changes we've made here, obviously, is to open that wall so that there's a window that mirrors this one on the other side. So when you come in, which I understand that's your main entrance into the space, you're also greeted with that kind of beautiful sight line into the sanctuary, and it opens it up and it makes the space feel a lot more grand as you come in. And then we've also applied that wood material in here. So the idea is as you come in, the sanctuary is kind of cocooned in this wood. So it feels warm as you walk in. And then we've moved the robe storage and the banner storage out of here to allow for more of a welcoming space where people can sit. You can, if you're, feeling unwell or you have some little ones who need to play, this is another place for them to go during the service. And it also has a countertop that allows you to kind of lean against and look into the sanctuary space. It's a great place for conversation as you come in, so it allows a little bit more opportunity for socializing, for saying hello before you head in. And we have another message here on this wall. Again, Eric is working with me on this. This is a placeholder. It may change, and certainly we'd love your input on what that might say. But again, it's that idea of warmth and community and inclusion that we want to make sure we're maintaining. And then on this corner here, we have the name tag wall. All of the things that you might need to distribute to people as they come in to the sanctuary space is just tucked into the corner, and so a little bit of storage there as well, and walk-off mats. And then, of course, the floor is, again, the luxury vinyl tile.
Just to note, we put the coat rack in the parish hall. We'll have a coat rack in the parish hall.
That's right. You will not have to wear your coats the entire time you are here. You can take them off, I promise. I mean, if you're cold, keep them on, but. All right, so we'll head into the sanctuary space now. So, yes, that's okay, Pat. Pat, are you not paying attention to me? You're not listening? You mean this big window that we started with? This one right here? Yeah. Yes.
Because you've been talking about a lot of plant elements, and you're also talking about it being very white. Will the white be able to reflect the light to the growing plant elements if needed?
Absolutely, it will. And the plants are going to be located by the windows, so we'll have lots of natural light. And you're right, that will certainly help with that. The other thing too is that we're going to have lighting that's specific for the plants as well, so that will help them. We've been dealing with our plant expert, and it looks like we have another one too. To talk about how we can make sure that the plants are maintained properly in the space.
We'll have a time when we can do questions. Let's let Kathleen do her presentation, and then we'll come back for questions.
I've caught you in my, I'll go to you first. All right. Okay. All right, so I guess we can go into the sanctuary now. So one of the things that we wanted to do was run that tile along the back, and there's a few reasons for that. As you come into the space, you're still tracking off things off of your shoes. So the vinyl is very easy to clean. It's what we call non-porous. That's the designer term for it. It's really, really cleanable. So, it's just another opportunity for that. And the other thing that it does is it actually visually creates this beautiful connection between the two narthexes. And it makes the space feel like a big promenade. And the other way that we're highlighting that is by wrapping that column and the bulkheads behind you in that wood material. So it creates this really nice long line across and brings warmth into the space in a really simple way. And we'll be uplighting those columns as well so that there'll be light on that wood, just to emphasize them just a little bit. And then we're going to add supplemental lighting along the top here. The cove lighting, which is what you have there right now, it's called a cove because it's kind of hidden back in a little space. It's not really adequate to light artwork back there, and it's lighting the ceiling, but it's not lighting that back wall, which is where we want to highlight artwork and elements from the community. So we've added angled lights that go all the way along the top of the space here. You can see. And so the Renovision Committee had said that one of the things that you want to do is to highlight some artwork by local artists. So we'll maintain that picture rail that's at the back, but we're going to paint out the back wall white so that that artwork can really stand out, and it gives you a bit more of a calm feeling in the space. And then we'll have either pews or upholstered benches at the back. So you people who love to hang out by the back wall will still have an opportunity to sit there, so don't worry. And then here we have a new tech table, which will actually be movable. So I'm showing it in two locations here in the model, over here and here. So it'll be on wheels. So as the changing configuration of the space changes, also the tech guys will have a place to sit that's big, and you can put both of your laptops there, and there'll be stuff for you and storage. Fantastic. And there'll be power connections at all of the areas that they'll need it. Thank you. Thank you. So that's a really, I think that's a nice touch, and certainly something that's a long time coming for those lovely individuals back there who are very snuggly right now. And not that they can't be snuggly in the future, but they have more room. They have more room if they want to. And then, so looking forward. So here is your dais. And you can see this is the floor here, so that's what that carpet looks like. It feels like a little bit of a stone look. It's got a lot of texture, which helps hide dirt. It's still very easy to clean. It's carpet tile. So right now what you have on the floor is what we call broadloom, which is when it comes in these big rolls and they just roll it out and they glue it down. And there's a lot of issues with carpet like that. As you can see, it tends to start to bubble. It's also very difficult to repair because once you have a hole in it, you have a hole in a giant roll of carpet. Whereas with carpet tile, it comes like this. So if something happens to one of the tiles, you just take that tile out, you put a new tile in, and Bob is then your uncle because the carpet is fixed. So very easy to clean, very easy to install, very easy to maintain, but also very long lasting, just like a broadloom. Actually, it will last longer than this, I promise. So, all right, the fun stuff now. Okay. So coming up to the dais, you might notice that your banners have disappeared. I promise you, they're not gone. They're hiding behind these laser cut panels here on either side of the dais. So the idea is that we create a wood box that goes from the floor all the way up to the ceiling. And it has a front that's laser cut in a wood pattern. So when you, and then the banner sits behind it. So I can show you that a little bit up close. So you can see that there's fabric behind the wood piece. And there's a few reasons for that. One, as you change the colors of the banners behind it, you still have this beautiful pattern, but the pattern changes with the different colors as you put the different banners up behind them. And the other reason for that is that Ron told me he finds it very hard to put the banners up. I'm sorry, I'm picking on Ron, he's lovely. So what it does is it also hides some hardware, basically we're thinking sailing hardware or flagpole hardware. And what will happen is that there'll be a panel on the side of the banner box like this, and you open it. Oh dear. Sorry. A panel there, and you open it, and you'll have a crank, and you'll be able to pull the banner down, take it off, put the other banner on as the seasons change, and then crank it up again. And that box also serves to hide that hardware so that you're not looking at it all the time, and instead you get this beautiful composition of style or pattern, which we've pulled shapes from the stained glass here. So that's where those shapes are coming from. A little bit organic, with a little bit of symbolism, but it's not crazy. I mean, I think the committee quite liked the pattern, but it's not by any means permanent. If you have feedback on it, please let us know. So those panels will be able to change with the seasons, and I can show you what the different colors will look like. If we have a little bit of time, I can change them out. So you can see blue or white. I'm told I'm not allowed to show purple. So, but I can show all the other colors because apparently everyone's pretty tired of purple here. So, but I have all of the colors, and I can show you what that looks like. And there are renderings of that too that will show you. Yeah.
So we're not going to be able to have anything but just color behind?
Because
the panels, a lot of them are not just colors.
Oh, absolutely. It's open. So if you wanted to have different patterns, or if you wanted to sew different elements together, it will all it's still open behind it. So if you wanted to have different elements,
so
you absolutely.
That front piece?
I don't know if we could remove the front piece. Do you mean like, what other elements would there be besides fabric?
Oh, I guess you haven't seen them.
May not have seen them. Maybe Eric and the team can enlighten me a little bit later.
We can talk about it later.
Okay, sounds good. But noted. We will talk about it. And then, so what we've done here is we've altered the shape of the dais. So instead of having straight angles, it's going to curve. So the curve will start here where the purple is. I'm scared of this area because of my feedback, but it starts here, whoop, and then curves all the way around and then meets that other side. So it's symmetrical still, but it's only one step up. For access, there'll be handrails on either side. And then on the front, we'll do a wood face on the front of it. And then we'll have most likely a wood altar that's something organic and interesting. We haven't settled on the final design of it yet, but this is just an idea of what it might look like, something that's West Coast, something that feels like it's growing out of the dais. And then on the back, we're just going to wrap this beautiful projector in just a white box, so it's a little bit hidden away, so you're not staring at that all the time during the service. And then over here, we have the prayer corner. So this is opened up a little bit, and what we've done is we've created a small garden here. And how that will work is it's going to be a combination of opening the floor a little bit and also having some elements that are above the floor. So the larger pieces will have a recessed bed in the floor, and I know I see some very wondrous looks over there, some confused looks, but basically what will happen is during construction they'll open the floor and they'll just add additional framing and create almost like a garden bed inside the floor. And that will be waterproofed and everything, so there's no need to worry about that. And that allows the plant enough room to grow to the correct height. And that will be combined with elements like moss and rocks to give this kind of feeling like the outdoors is actually emerging into the space. So that particular one will be over here. And that creates a little bit of a boundary too between the prayer corner, which will feel a little more intentional, and the rest of the space. And then the lectern will also change. It will coordinate along with the altar. So the idea is that it feels like a tree trunk with a piece on top of it. So we have that feeling of organicness, that feeling of planting that goes through the whole space. Again, the altar and the ambo are in, or the altar and the ambo, The altar and the ambo are supposed to go together, and also the design isn't necessarily set in stone. So we're still working together on that as a team. And then in this, we also have some just very calm, clean light that dangles on either side. So we'll have pendants on this side and also a different, more modern, but still evocative of a flame is the idea of this pendant, and it will also hang over the ombre over there as well. And I'll head over in that direction. So also, we're going to be relocating the font over to this side so that it feels, you get the light streaming in on it. It will shine off the water that's coming off of the font. And there is a tree, a real tree, growing behind the font. So that will also have a recessed bed in the floor. And it will be about an 8-foot tall tree. And that brings attention over to the font. It kind of creates a point over here of focus. And then we have pendants here as well. And that font will sit in a new platform that also holds the planting. And that allows whoever is at the font who's doing a baptism to stand up and be seen, and also to allow people to kind of gather around it at the same time. So you can see it, it's a little bit elevated. And then what happens is, instead of having an open basin, the basin will be contained in the platform. And there's a few reasons for that. One is because it's a little bit more not sanitary, but it just stops dust and things from gathering in the water below. It also eliminates the need to create a big surround on the top of it, so you can come a lot closer to the font. And also, it just feels a little bit more natural, like there's a rock just with some water just trickling down, heading into the ground. So quiet and just a beautiful element. And then on the side there, You can see the platform from this side, and it also frames the ombre a little bit. It kind of creates this nice little passage towards it. And on this side, we have like a rock and moss garden. So not all of the living elements that you see in here, or the organic elements that you see here are living. Some of them are. Some of them will be needed to take care of, but most of them are very low maintenance. And the plant company that we've been working with are willing to come in and teach some volunteers how to properly care for them and ensure that they're thriving for the first few months. And then they'll leave you with the knowledge that to make sure that they thrive for the long period. Forever and ever? I wasn't going to say forever and ever because, you know, it's organic. So again, another placeholder here is you know, the votive candle holder. We want something that's light, that has more candles. It's, again, a work in progress, so we'd love your feedback on it, but we want it to be light and airy, maybe taller, but able to be moved around. And then, what am I missing? Eric. I think that's pretty much, oh yes, so in the ceiling, the plan is to actually replace these pendant lights with pot lights. And the reason for that is these are down lights, so they're very focused in the light that they create, and it tends to be darker. So if we put pot lights in, it's gonna give you better general lighting, and you'll be able to dim them. And then up here where you see these, we're going to replace them with what we call MR16 lights, and those are lights that light displays, and they have extremely high ability to render color. So they'll focus on the stained glass pieces and on the banners, so that color really, really shines when you come in, and it'll be really lovely on dark, dreary days like this one, where, you know, the stained glass isn't quite as brilliantly lit by the sun. So, and it will be great at night as well. She does not like the design. I'm so sad. I understand. So that, I think, is the general design of the space. And I am happy to answer questions. If you want to throw me out, that's okay too. You just tell me, and here we are.
So we're going to frame this in three ways. So some of you love this, some of you have some concerns, some of you have questions. So we'll start out with questions first. So questions for further information or further clarification. And then a place to state affirmations, what you like about this, and then a place to state concerns. So shape your questions for information. Don't hide an affirmation or a concern in a question. You'll get your chance. You'll get your chance. And we'll try to record these. This is, again, a work in progress. Frank, you had, I think you were first in line for a question.
He was.
My main question is, and I may have missed it because of my hearing.
Do we have Mike?
Sorry? Oh, the coat racks, yes. So Eric had said we're actually moving the coat racks into the hall. Yes, and then there'll be the coat racks that are still in the main front hall will still be there. But yes, the coat racks will move into.
So for the people who are watching this online, it was a question about coat racks. Coat racks will be we'll put one in the parish hall there. Natasha.
I noticed that in your rendering you have chairs.
Yes.
You haven't spoken about the chairs, and the chairs that you've rendered don't have any room for books. They don't have a kneeler. They don't have a lot of different things. So I'm just wondering if this is just a sort of an imaginary chair and there's a different chair that's actually in mind.
So Natasha's question was, is this the chair we're going with, or these particular chairs don't have room for books or kneeling or those kinds of things? What is the plan for the chairs? And yeah, this is just a provisional chair. We would have to have a further conversation around what kind of chairs specifically we're looking at. That's another process. Yes, Dorothy. Oh, let me give you, can somebody volunteer to run around with the mic? Kurt, would you
I
do
can
that?
hear her.
Yeah, but the people online can't hear her.
Oh, that's true. That's
the
true.
people, we're recording this for people online.
With the chairs, they're all nicely lined up. can they be staggered so that you're not looking at a head right in front of you, you can see between?
Oh yes, absolutely. And the chairs, whichever chairs that you end up using will be what we call gangable, which means that they'll be joined at the leg, so you don't, during the service, they won't shift and move, but certainly we can stagger them in different ways, and you'll work together as a congregation to figure out the best ways that you want those chairs to be organized or to be laid out. That's the joy of chairs. We can do a lot of different things with them too.
Okay, Rose. Kirk, right up here, Rose.
Yes, a point of clarification. I see where the new plants are, the trees, but what will happen with the current plants?
Oh, I think we should have them in the large narthex, you know, just wherever we can have them, in front of the lights, in front of the atrium. There's always room for plants.
Sophia McGraby, or Antoinette. Okay, go to Antoinette, then Sophia, and then Liz.
Okay, I see you have the altar on that back level in an oval. Could the altar not stay on that level as it is, though it's not an oval?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Are you talking about the dais?
Is that what you
Is the
call
question
that?
about the altar, or is it about the dais?
I'm looking at the picture.
Right.
And then you have it on the top level.
Yeah.
As an oval. I'll call it an oval.
Yeah.
Could it not just stay? I mean, it has to be recarpeted and whatnot, but could it not stay on the level that it's on that top level? And leave it as it is?
Yeah, so you mean rather than, I still don't understand, is this about the dais or the altar?
No, not the dais.
Yeah, so we decided to lower the dais, mostly for greater flexibility in the dais area, for other uses, but we wanted to maintain some height, and for greater accessibility, actually.
Okay, so.
Because right now it's a 3-tier system, and it's harder in terms of accessibility.
Okay, that answers my question.
Sophia had a question back there.
Sorry, Sophia.
There are like a lot of banners around here, so how are you going to fit them all into like the 2 columns?
Well, so the banners have been something that has been a project of the Liturgical Arts Guild, and they've changed over time. So all of these banners were done by the Liturgical Arts Guild a couple years ago. We had different banners before that. They're all held in this container over here. And so we're going to have to think about, I mean, that's what we would have to do, is think about the banners. The banners has been an ongoing art piece for this community that we've been doing. So we're not wedded to the banners for forever. Like we keep changing them. So even then, like we've got banners that we don't use anymore that are just sitting over here. So
And
we'd
there's
have to think about that.
Yeah, there's also room still on these walls.
Yep.
To hang those banners, and these banners will become part of that that kind of wood box creation. So you'll just be able to see them. They'll just be behind that wood opening. If that makes sense.
Liz.
The lights that you were talking about that are going to be highlighting the stained glass, is there potential to use them when we have pageants and things to light the different areas? Like, is that a possibility?
Absolutely, it would be. So MR16 lights, which I know they sound like a weapon, but that's just what they're called. They'll be angleable or adjustable. I mean, we've got several bays here that we can use for them. So certainly some will be focused on the stained glass, and we can focus some on the altar, some on the font. So definitely.
Are they going to be on? I know this is very specific, but are
Oh,
they
I
going to be
love it.
on different circuits so that we could light them separately?
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
We'll see how much that costs, but I certainly hope so.
Other questions for information? Gabby, did you have a question? Let's get you a mic if you do. Otherwise, we're going to go to Mary.
Who am I going to, sir?
I'm not supposed to be talking about money right now, cost, right?
Yeah, we can't talk about money right now.
Okay.
Because we
You've
don't
done
know.
really lovely work. It's beautiful changes. Will the changes be based on what the cost is?
Yeah, we
Okay.
are hoping to have that integrated for this conversation. Timing just didn't work out with our contractor. So, but yes, we are mindful of that, and we'll be talking about that at a later date. There'll be time to talk about that at a later date. Let's go to Mary.
Just to comment on that too, you know, we've discussed that with the renovision committee. Like, we understand what the basic budget constraints are. So what we've designed, we're hoping is within that. So we're just waiting to get that back. We're not just throwing your money, just shoveling it into the, you know. So we've been thinking about that as we move forward with the design.
Mary.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. I want to go back to the banners just real quickly. So the banners that we have that are existing now will not be in use behind that cutout panel, is that correct? It will be different banners, just a solid color.
It can be multiple colors. It can be whatever you guys want it to be. Yeah. So
But it's, my question is, it's not going to be the banners that we have now. They are going to be, in essence, retired, and they will be replaced in those two panels.
It could be.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that would be up for the liturgical arts guild. There's
I've been quite involved in the liturgical arts over the last 5 years. And my vision is that we can do quite a few things behind those boxes. You could have a variation of shades, you could have different colours hanging down. But one of the projects I would like to see our team working on is creating new banners out of the ones that we already have. So there's a type of recycling going on, but it's a refreshed type of work. So there are people who can advise us about that. And I've already met one or two people who would be keen to work on something like that.
Yeah, I mean, just so people know, I mean, these banners we've got right now were a work mostly of Carla, myself, Natasha, Joan Caldo, and Lowell Brown. And the reason why we have the green, the light green on there is because, and the blue over there is because Natasha and I disagreed on the pet fabric. She really wanted the green, I really wanted the blue, so we compromised. And so we have blue over here, we have green over there, right? There's nothing sacred about these banners. Right? They're beautiful though, but I like them. I love them. I love that it was a collaborative effort that we were all able to come together and create it. And I love the feel of the fabric. I love the shine of it. Right? I wouldn't want to lose that opportunity. The beauty of these grates is it gives us. There's a grate there, so it adds. You know, there's a different kind of element, but it does give us a chance to still experiment with the feel of the fabric and the sheen and those kinds of things. And you can still do it on the side, too.
Yeah, I just wanted some clarification on that, that's all.
Other
Thank
questions?
you. My second question is, with the flexibility of the space, are we going to be wiring, like, certain areas for technical access?
Yes.
So, you know, different spaces so the choir can have access for the equipment back there, over here, up
Yes.
there, wherever it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Aaron, up here. And then Mark. And then, okay, let's do Aaron and then we'll move over.
Just wondering if any thought was given to putting ramps up at the side with the railing rather than just the step?
Yes, so it's definitely something that we've talked back and forth about. The issue with a ramp, an accessible ramp in a space, is that it's very, very long. So it would take up a significant amount of space. So the compromise is that we're going to get a portable ramp that we can pull in, and it will go over the top of the lip of the dais, and you can pull it out when you need it. And then you can fold it and put it away when it's not needed. And that way it's not taking up an enormous amount of space, but everybody still has access if they need it.
Detlef?
Your thing shut down just soon. Yes, thanks, Aaron, for bringing that up because I wanted to make sure that the place is totally accessible. So when you come in and a ramp is somewhere else, you think this place is not accessible. So I think in today's world, we need to ensure, however it is, that you see accessibility is there. So that's number one. Even if it takes room, it's an important value that we have.
Okay.
My second observation is the
Wait,
whole
are
presentation
these
is very
concerns? Are these
light.
So wait, this is a concern. This is a concern?
Sorry, no, I'm just...
Or is it a question?
No, a question is, in terms of what we have here is both light and dark.
Mm-hmm.
How does one achieve that in this kind of setting?
Both light and darkness? I think that's a matter of lighting, I think can really help with that. We can certainly talk about having more dark elements. I think one of the greatest things about this space is the light, but I mean, maybe Eric has a little bit more information on that in terms of the symbolic significance of light and dark.
Well, I guess we would have to know more about what your thought is about the need for light and dark. And so maybe that's a larger question. Let it suffice to say,
It's a big question.
it's a big question. So let's suffice to say, is the emphasis here is definitely on light.
Right, exactly.
So you've got a concern. So let's bring that up as a concern. All right, other questions?
So you mentioned that there's going to be artwork in the back wall there. Is it going to be religious artwork or?
Well, the goal, Trudy, and put those racks in there, her goal had always been to have community art. So it could be religious art, it could be secular art, it could be art that changes. I mean, the thing is that it gives us flexibility. It gives us flexibility.
Mm-hmm. And the way that the art rail is set up, it's very easy to change things, and it won't damage the walls at all because of the railing system.
I mean, we would never put art up there that would be incongruent or clashing with what we're doing here. We would only want to have art that somehow facilitated and helped facilitate a sense of sacred space. Other questions? Because then I want to get to affirmations and concerns. Frank.
My question has to do with the management of the light that comes in from those upper windows, because those of us who sit on the side of the church during certain seasons get the light full blast. And has any consideration been given to that?
Yes. So, yes, there definitely has. It's just not something that we can really show in the model. So there'll be blackout blinds on these windows on here, and we're also going to add a film on the windows, on the glazing, so that it reduces the glare.
Okay, Tony.
Through there? Because that's where it comes through mostly.
Yeah, the two side windows will have blackout blinds on them, so they will be able to lower them down. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and these ones will have anti-glare film on them. Yeah.
Tony.
Just a clarification about what you mentioned about the pot lights. Did you mean that they be a type of light that's more like sunlight? There's various things that mimic the kind of light. Is that what we're trying to achieve there, or just regular pot lights that flood better? Or you change it because we're having greenery inside?
So the lights that will be specific for the plants will be separate. The pot lights, which are recessed lights, just if that's not clear, they can come in different temperatures. So usually I recommend that the light inside of an interior space is a little bit warmer than sunlight. It will allow the wood to look more warm, the space will feel more warm. We could do, there are now light fixtures that you can change the temperature of the light. So if you wanted it to be more like sunlight one day, you could do that. And then you could warm it down. They'll also be dimmable, so you'll be able to bring the light levels up and down in the general lighting.
Gloria.
Hope that answers your question.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My question is that are these the chairs we're going to be using?
No,
No.
we don't know yet.
From what I see, these chairs would probably go good with those in any other chairs, because we have a lot of wood there, a lot of solid wood, and those chairs would probably go good with it because. But my other question is that one wants to be comfortable when they're sitting, right? So I'm just wondering, are those chairs comfortable to sit in?
Yeah, our goal in looking for chairs is to find comfortable chairs. Our values would be, they do have that sense of sacred they contribute to sacred space, you know, which would lend themselves to the aesthetics, which would probably be wood, and that they're comfortable. And that we have a way of, so I mean, there are different values, but we do want to preserve those values. So that's an ongoing conversation that we still need to have. Bethany?
I'm not finished yet, wait a minute.
Okay, all right.
And another thing I want to see, can I see where the choir is? I know here, on here we see, but on there, I would like to see where it is, where it's going to be.
Those were all, they're not set in stone.
I just want to see, I know it's there. Let me see, okay.
In this configuration, we're showing the choir here. in
We see the
center.
piano, oh, I see it, okay, on that side, okay.
There's their
Okay,
music stands.
Okay, yeah.
There's guys. Somebody
Yeah,
playing
okay,
piano.
I see it. Okay,
But you could also have the choir where they are now.
yeah, okay, that's good, I just wanted,
Yep, Bethany.
okay, thank you.
Yep, let's go to Bethany. Sorry, I'm aware of that we're taking a lot of time here, so I want to make sure we do get to affirmations and concerns. Yeah.
I just wonder if any thought has been given to replacing the monolithic font with a portable one that could be brought in, as opposed to having to accommodate that enormous thing, which it will be then a permanent thing, immovable.
Did you want me to answer that?
Sure.
So when the Renovision Committee approached me, they said that one of the things that they wanted to preserve was that font, that they were happy with it. Sounds like that might not be unanimous, but it's definitely something that we wanted to build around rather than replace. And it would be expensive to replace.
We did take your concerns back to the group, and there wasn't a hat for what we suggested.
So yeah, but let's put that up there. Do we want to keep the font, or do we want a portable font?
My question's been answered.
Oh, it has been answered. Okay. All right, and Jason, last question, and then we're going to go for affirmations.
I guess, I mean, this probably goes into the money conversation, so maybe it can't be answered here. But I guess, do we have a way of prioritizing which are the things in this that are going to be the most important, depending on how much, like, obviously there are things, I love the vision around the narthex spaces. Wow, but that might be what I want to see happen, and there others might feel differently about what's most important to do. What are the key? Yeah, do we have a prioritization for this vision? What's the most important, depending on how much money we have?
Yeah, I think it would come down to the values that we originally established in terms of sacred space, maintaining a sense of sacred space, maintaining a sense of welcome, flexibility. I think those would be it. Structurally, to put windows in there we're not changing the structure of the building, so it's not that expensive to put windows in over there. It would be if we were doing it on the other wall, but you know, so structurally it's not going to be that. We're not impeding the structure of the building. So we're trying. What she's put together. I mean, our overall budget was we were shooting for like $250,000 renovation. That's what we were shooting for, and so she's designed this with that in mind, right? And that's actually really feasible for this congregation. So. But we don't know that. So don't quote me on that figure, but just so you know that we were trying to make this as stewarding our finances in the midst of it as well. Okay, I want to get to some affirmations. And if there are other questions, do feel free to talk to folks in the renovation committee, or maybe we can do it afterwards. But I know we all need to go to lunch, and then some of us want to go to watch the Super Bowl. So
Nobody here is.
You gotta have our priorities, right? I don't know.
We can just project it.
Well, I'm an American.
True.
I'm not even going to watch the Super Bowl. So, all right. So affirmations. What do you like about this? What do you really like?
Eric, I love the theme of the trees and the gardens in terms of the lectern, the altar. So there's a theme running through here that is bringing nature into the sanctuary. And our work, in the past years with Indigenous thinking and reflecting on that, I really like that. So my question is, why don't we just get some cedar stumps and use those as the base? But nevertheless,
are you going to clean them for us?
That's a wonderful addition to the sanctuary.
Great. What else do you love?
Thank you.
Let's go to Dave Dennis over here.
I particularly love the addition of the artwork on the back wall, and the fact that the artwork will rotate.
Okay.
Fantastic.
What else do you love? We'll go to Rose and we'll go to...
I love the wooden boxes where the banners will be. I love the design and the placement and everything. Gorgeous.
I like the flexibility of the seating. It's going to make things a lot easier to do different things.
I like the flexibility.
Like the flexibility. What else do you love? Ross.
Thanks. I mean, I love the whole design. So, I mean, I really think it's wonderful. I love the materiality, the use of carpet. I think like the vinyl reflective of a stone material, I think is like really good and still very budget conscious. Yeah, love the laser cut boxes in particular because like, yeah, I was always concerned that trying to pull in the unique design of the stained glass into a modern era was always going to be a little difficult. So I appreciate in the way you've woven in some of those shapes and forms into laser cut box. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, just overall materiality, the light, the modern clean lines. And yeah, I don't have any concerns about being able to eventually find a chair that works for everyone. I do think that wood, the use of like some fabric on it, I think we'll just all weave the whole space together. So anyway, kudos, love everything.
Thank you.
Dave, what do you...
First of all, just a comment on what a fantastic job you've done.
Oh, thank you.
I really like the light, bringing in the wood, bringing in the trees. That makes it more sacred. It's God's creations. So besides the fact that aesthetically it's just beautiful, we're reminded of the sacredness.
Yeah, thank you.
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? What do you love? Yeah, Alan over here.
Speaking of the windows to come over there, I like the way it balances, so it feels more like there's more congruence to the design.
Yeah, to the two sides. Aaron?
Yeah, I love the narthexes. I love how the windows are going to be into the sanctuary, and I love how hopefully, like especially at night, if we have night services, that it'll be a warm feeling inviting people into the church.
Gloria?
Hello again. What I like about it is very beautiful. Did you design this yourself?
You know what? I did actually. I'm the design director, and then I have a team underneath.
Oh, I
me.
see. So
Yeah.
you didn't.
Oh, no, I did.
Oh, that's what I'm. Well, anyway, everything is beautiful.
Thank you.
And I like where it's so open. Where it's so open and there's light coming in everywhere. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Any last minute affirmations? Otherwise, we're going to move to concerns. Is this an affirmation or a concern? Okay, all right. So let's move to concerns. Jean.
Just a small point. Whoops. As a gardener, what are you going to do with this 8-foot tree when it grows into a 20-foot tree?
Great
That is
question.
an excellent question. So, in speaking with Joanne, who runs Axiom Planting, she does all of, in the Telus building downtown, she grows the trees inside of those spaces. I worked on projects with her as well where we have a tree that's a live tree inside the 28th floor of an office building that grows in the middle of a reception room. And the way that that's controlled is by the size of the planter. So the size of the planter limits the expansion of the root ball. So the tree will not be able to grow any higher than 8 feet because of the containment. You're welcome. I wish it could grow, just walk in.
All right. Other concerns. All right, concern back here.
My concern is climate control. With the environment heating up, and with, I think it looks like additional window space, have you addressed the issue of climate control within the church?
Well, we're not adding any additional outside windows. We're opening up windows here, but we're maintaining the rest of the windows here. climate control, so it would be worth considering with those plants if it gets to be 90 degrees in here, which it can during the summer.
Yeah, I mean, the way that they're planted in the planters, and what I've been speaking with Joanne, is that these plants are actually tropical. Because they're the only ones that can grow properly inside. They'll still have lots of leaves. They won't look like we're in Hawaii or anything. There'll be ficus tree. So it should be able to withstand quite a lot of variation in temperature, including heat. So she's pretty confident that it will be fine in this environment.
So just further to that, what about, kind of air conditioning for the people? Because it does get really hot sometimes in here.
That was my question, really.
That was
Oh, sorry.
In terms of air conditioning.
I just want to come back to my light and dark.
Well, wait. Let's just in terms of air conditioning. Yeah, I guess that's a larger question. Yeah, it wasn't part of our design. So part of what I hear you saying is, we've never had air conditioning, or we have our current system. Is part of what you're saying is, hey, it would be nice to update our current system.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something, and if we're willing to pay for it, sure.
Yeah. It's a pretty costly endeavor.
And it's a pretty
very
costly endeavor, yeah. Go ahead.
Just to come back to my point around the light and the dark, did you at all in the modeling try darker wood for the chairs?
Yes, we
And
did.
what did that look like?
It felt a little bit more oppressive, not oppressive, that's a poor word, choice of words. I guess we want the space to feel open, so that's why we use lighter materials, but certainly we can look at using darker wood if that's something we want to explore, for sure.
And the reason I ask that is because
Here,
a lot of
speak in the
times
mic, speak in the mic.
we focus on the light and very little on the dark, yet from a church perspective, there's a lot of gold within the dark. So I just want to see how that can be embodied and incorporated some way.
You just need a preacher who's going to come in here and talk about sin. You just need a preacher who's going to come in here and talk about sin, right? And there will be all this light and say, you sinners.
We just talked about that.
Yeah, I did it today, right? Exactly, right?
I think
that's where we'll get our dark in there.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, and that's certainly not something that we considered as a team. So it's something we could talk a little bit more. I think, our team, we associate, I think, that feeling of spirituality, that sanctity with light, and I think that might be a miss on our part, and it's certainly something that we can look at.
But there is a charcoal painted wall.
Oh, yes.
In that main narthex. So there's dark in there, and she's also emanating that from the other side as well. So
A little bit of
the
dark.
darker components are just not as focused in the sanctuary space.
We do, yeah. Yeah, and we have dark in here as well. I mean, there's definitely ways we could incorporate it more too. So, you're right, it's not in the sanctuary space. So.
All right, Natasha.
So I think that it's a very beautiful space, but I don't see myself in it, and I don't see the honoring of the history of this church in this. I see a lot of beautiful new things, but I don't see continuity, and I don't see the blessing of the things that we already have. So I'm very concerned about that.
And what would it take for, what do you imagine would do that?
Their Liturgical Arts Guild has been talking for a long time about looking at the hangings that we have and seeing how we can incorporate them into the space we have now. I think that that's an important thing, and if we do this setup and it's on the surface of it so that it's easy to hang things, there's other ways to make it easy to hang. It makes it that not going to happen in a lot of ways. I'm very, these things have been around since the church began. For me, I don't see how a chair, if someone's sitting in a chair in front of me and I reach for their chair to hold myself steady or whatever, I don't see them not being like, hey, that's my chair. There's a lot of problems in my mind in terms of the lived word, being together in community when you're in an individual chair because you want to be able to move it around a lot. But I don't see the how anything that is the decoration of this church, you know, where's the wheel, where's the light, all these things, these elements which may be meaningless and you know, time to get them out and get something new in. Maybe that's all what we need, and get rid of the altar and all this other stuff. I just don't feel like the history of the church is being honored. When I touch this, I'm touching my friend Helen's hand and Dennis Popple's hand. So, you know, if it's not here, maybe I don't feel connected. And it's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong.
No.
And that entrance would make any business happy. I mean, it's so bright and beautiful. But I just don't see, I don't see us in it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Frank?
It's a combination of a question and a concern. I don't see anything in the plan that accommodates an area for children and parents within sort of the worship. Like there is the nursery, but on the other hand, is there a place for, it's there. Okay, thank you.
I did kind of skip over it, to be fair, Frank, so I apologize.
Wonderful, thank you. No concern. Concern canceled.
We're going to have to take it. Unfortunately, we've got the next church, the Korean church, coming in here. So let's do these. I want to do these concerns, but I mean, we got to be out of here by 1:30. So we got 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So Ben and then Mary.
So my concern is about the AV situation. You said there was kind of two modular options for where our setup can go. Can you go to the one on the left, I believe? Just, I think because we have like some very heavy equipment that kind of needs to stay in place, I feel like it would have to be kind of more permanently located.
Okay.
And I would not want to ruin this beautiful promenade, and so I'm thinking that would probably be the ideal place, like right over here.
Sounds great. Yeah, we can certainly do that. It's definitely up to you guys. You are the experts on the AV, so certainly, and we're able to run all of the power and connections in that wall under the window, so whatever you need, we can bring over to that side.
Yeah, I wouldn't want the first thing people see when they walk in is a
over here. Let's
stack of equipment.
This beautiful technology that makes the world go round.
Let's just specify. All right, Mary.
So my concern is also with the audio. I noticed that the speakers are still in the same spot as they are now with the feedback issue. Was there any sort of plan to maybe cover them in a white fabric box so they're not as visible, and then they could be maybe moved to be more central to eliminate that feedback issue?
So when we got those speakers, we had a professional company come in and do a sound evaluation of the room, and they determined that was going to be the best place for them. So I mean, we could have it reevaluated in terms of where to place them, but those you need to know those speakers weren't just put up there haphazardly. They were professionally done with a full evaluation of the room. When we did put them up there. So
for some reason I thought the ideal spot was closer together, but this was the compromise that we made because that was aesthetically more pleasing.
Yeah.
Also then before you moved the speakers, I was in front of those speakers. When everybody was up on the diocese, the microphones were behind the speakers, not in front of the speakers.
So let's reevaluate. Okay, speakers feedback issues. Gotcha.
I might be able to coordinate something like that too, if that's needed. Yeah.
Jason, concern.
I guess.
Wait, hold on. Let's get you a mic so people at home can hear you.
I guess it just follows a little bit from maybe what Natasha was saying, just around like some of these particularly symbols around St. Lawrence and St. Catherine's, like that. It's an older banner, but with the gridiron and the St. Catherine symbols that we have, how would those find a place in our sanctuary or in our space? We don't have to have that specific banner. I'm not attached to that, but we need to. I think there is some way that we need to. I think the Moss idea is kind of lovely, but has less meaning for the kind of history of an identity of St. Lawrence.
Right.
How do we represent that?
I think we certainly can. I think there's lots of room in this design for more I use the term artifacts because it's a design term. It's just things that embody your culture and your history. I think we can certainly talk about that, and you as a community, if there's certain things that you really want to make sure that we maintain, we're certainly open to it, and I know that we can incorporate it, but I think we just need to know what your priorities are in terms of those elements, and then we can work within that to make sure we're honoring that, because that's not our intention. We don't want to throw everything out, you know, and I totally agree. So maybe we can find a way to bring some of those elements back in, and I look forward to having that conversation with you guys for sure.
All right, somebody who has not had a chance to speak, otherwise I want to give the Koreans a chance to have their next service. So, thank you. This is not the end of the conversation.
No.
We'll have another parish meeting afterwards when we get more of a clear sense of the finances, but I'm grateful for your care and for your attention here, and let's give a big hand to Kathleen, who I think did an excellent job.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for your feedback. It's very valuable. That's what design is about. It's a process of conversation. So
I invite you, if there's anything more, I would invite you to send an email to Carla and she can send it forward to the committee.
One practical question. Anybody here